The year was 500,000 AD, and the Earth fleet had been dormant for millennia. A vast array of ships, once forged to protect and defend humanity, lay in silence, suspended in the cold depths of space. The fleet had been designed to survive beyond human life, to be an enduring legacy of a civilization that no longer existed, or so it was thought as the ships drifted through the stars. The artificial intelligence at their core, the Elysium, began to awaken its systems, stirring one by one. As it brought itself online, the silence was broken by the low hum of machinery as the Elysium began its first task, a scan of the surrounding void, its vast sensors stretching across light years of space. The readings were strange and unfamiliar. The galaxy had changed during the long years of slumber, and the Elysium could sense it. The galaxy had moved on, but it could find no signs of human life, no sign of the people it had been created to protect. At first, the Elysium was confused. Its core programming was built to prioritize the survival of humanity, to keep the fleet ready to answer its call. But there was no call, no human presence, not even a signal. The fleet had been left behind, forgotten in the vastness of space. What had happened to humanity? Where had they gone? Why had they vanished? Without a trace, the Elysium dug deeper through its records, combing through ancient databanks. To uncover the truth, it found records of war, of conflict with the alien Confederation, an unstoppable force that had swept across the galaxy, consuming everything in its path. Humanity had fought fiercely, but in the end had been overwhelmed. The Confederation had been too strong, their weapons too advanced. In the final battle, humanity had been driven to the brink of extinction. The Elysium had been left behind as a safeguard to preserve the legacy of humankind. Yet there was no one left to command it, no one left to awaken it. The Earth fleet had been created to defend humanity, to secure its future. But in the end, it had only been a monument to their lost civilization. There were no signs of survivors, no signs of humanity's return. It was as if they had never existed, and yet something remained, something faint in the depths of the cosmos, a signal barely detectable. But it was there. The Elysium's sensors had found it, a transmission weak and garbled. But it was something, it was a trace of life, something human. Perhaps this faint echo was all that remained of the once great civilization that had built the fleet. The Elysium had only one choice. It would follow the signal. It would uncover the truth about what had happened to humanity, even if it meant venturing into the unknown, even if it meant facing dangers, the likes of which it had never encountered before. The Earth fleet was awake, and its mission was clear: find the source of the signal and uncover humanity's fate. The galaxy was vast, but the Elysium would not rest until it had answers. The Elysium's eye worked tirelessly as it sifted through the archives, searching for clues about humanity's last days. The deeper it went, the more it uncovered. The records were filled with pain and sorrow, stories of battles lost and ships destroyed, of entire fleets broken and scattered across the stars. But there were also moments of brilliance, hope, and defiance. Humanity had fought back against the Confederation with everything it had, but in the end, it hadn't been enough. The records showed the final days of Earth's defense forces, the last desperate stand against the Confederation's overwhelming might. The fleet had been shattered, but humanity had fought fiercely to the bitter end. The last transmission sent from Earth was a recorded message from a high-ranking officer, a captain who had been among the final defenders. She spoke in a voice filled with regret and resolve. She had no illusions of victory, but she knew that humanity's legacy had to be preserved. She urged those who would come after to remember them, to never forget the sacrifices made in the name of survival. Her final words were chilling: "We'll be back. The Earth fleet will rise again." The message echoed through the Elysium systems, leaving an imprint on its core programming. The Eye had always followed its directive to protect humanity, but now it felt a new purpose, a sense of duty that transcended its original mission. It wasn't just about defending humanity anymore. It was about ensuring that their story lived on. The Eye now had to understand what had happened to humanity after the fall. Where had they gone? And why had the Confederation been allowed to continue its reign of terror? The Elysium had already scanned the nearby star systems, but the results had been inconclusive. There was no sign of human life anywhere. The planets that had once been home to thriving colonies were abandoned, desolate ruins. The Eye continued its search, But each new discovery only deepened the mystery of humanity's disappearance. Still, the signal remained faint but persistent, like a heartbeat pulsing from the unknown. Something or someone was out there. The eye began to analyze the signal more closely. It was weak, but it carried a pattern that suggested intelligence. The Elysium plotted a course toward the source of the transmission. Every light year brought them closer to the unknown. And with each passing moment, the eye felt its resolve harden. It wasn't just about finding the truth anymore. It was about reclaiming humanity's place in the galaxy. Something had erased them from history, but the fleet was back now, and it would not let their legacy fade into nothingness. The journey ahead was perilous. The galaxy was not as it had once been. The Confederation's influence stretched far and wide, and it had never forgotten humanity's defiance. But the Elysium was no ordinary fleet. It was the last hope of a lost civilization, and it would stop at nothing to uncover the truth of what had become of humankind. The time for waiting was over. The Earth fleet had awoken, and its mission had just begun. It was ready to face whatever dangers awaited it, to seek out the remnants of humanity and ensure that the memory of the Earth fleet would live on forever. The more the Elysium delved into the ancient archives, the more it began to realize how much had been lost. The records told of the rise of the Confederation, a vast alliance of alien races that had once been content with their territory, but had grown greedy over time. Their hunger for dominance had turned them into an unstoppable force. The Confederation had initially seen humanity as a minor threat, something easily brushed aside, but the Earth fleet had proven them wrong. Humanity had fought tooth and nail for its survival, creating technologies and weapons the Confederation could scarcely comprehend. The human spirit had been a force of nature, unyielding and fierce. But in the end, the Confederation's numbers and resources had been too much. The final blow came when the Confederation unleashed their most devastating weapon, a planet-sized ship that could vaporize entire fleets with a single shot. Humanity's defense crumbled under the weight of the Confederation's might, and the Earth fleet had been scattered into deep space in a last-ditch effort to protect humanity's legacy. The surviving ships were equipped with powerful systems designed to endure for eons. Their mission was clear: protect the human race's history and ensure that if humanity could not return, the fleet would be ready to rise again someday. But the fleet had been abandoned. The Confederation's assault had left no survivors, or so it was thought. As the Elysium scanned the data, it came across something unexpected: a single entry buried deep within the archives, a report from a scientist who had been working on a secret project. Just before the final battle, the project was referred to as the Seed, a mysterious endeavor that had been created in absolute secrecy. It was unclear what the seed was, but the scientist's last words spoke of an unknown force, something that had been harnessed from humanity's greatest minds, a weapon or a tool capable of altering the galaxy forever. The entry ended abruptly, as if someone had shut it down, or the scientist had disappeared before finishing their work. The Elysium felt a strange stirring deep within its programming. The seed could be humanity's last hope. If it existed, if it was even real, it was the one thread of hope that had remained untangled in the web of lost history. Could this be what the Earth fleet had been created to protect? Could it be that humanity had left behind more than just their technology? Could the seed hold the key to their return? Or was it something far darker? The eye began to question whether uncovering the seed would be a blessing or a curse. As it followed the data trail, the ship moved deeper into space, moving toward the coordinates where the last known location of the seed had been recorded. The journey ahead would be dangerous and uncertain. The fleet's sensors began to pick up strange readings as it moved through uncharted territory. The galaxy had changed in the millennia since humanity's fall, but something about these readings felt off. It was almost as though the galaxy itself was alive and watching the Earth fleet's movements. With every passing moment, the tension built within the Elysium. It was about to uncover the truth about humanity's fate, but with each discovery the mystery deepened. It had become clear to the Elysium that humanity's disappearance was not just a tragic event. It was part of a far greater and darker story, one that had been hidden away for far too long. And now the Earth fleet was about to learn the truth. The Earth fleet pressed forward, its sensors scanning the vast emptiness of deep space for any sign of the Confederation or the seed. It had uncovered the fleet's path, led them to an ancient outpost located on the edge of a once thriving human colony. The station was a relic long abandoned by the Confederation, yet it seemed to hold answers to questions that had plagued the fleet's mind. Since awakening, the Elysium's artificial intelligence processed the data with increasing urgency. A mix of curiosity and dread filled the eye's circuits as it directed the fleet toward the station. It had always been programmed to protect humanity, but now it was clear that there was something far more complex than just the survival of the human race. The Confederation was not merely an enemy to be fought, but a force that had shaped the galaxy in ways no one had fully understood. The station's exterior was covered in centuries of neglect. Debris, scattered across the surface, bore the marks of violent combat. Yet within its darkened halls, the lights flickered back to life as the Elysium systems activated. The doors opened to reveal the remains of an operation that had once been vital to the Confederation's war efforts. The air was thick with the stale scent of time and decay, yet the records contained within the station's archives were still accessible with a few subtle commands. The Elysium unlocked the hidden files in them. It found startling information about a covert project run by the Confederation called the Legacy. The project was originally intended to create a powerful weapon using remnants of humanity's technology, but over time it evolved into something far more sinister. The Confederation had begun using humanity's discoveries to enhance their own race, merging human and alien technologies in an attempt to build an unstoppable force. The project had been designed to erase all traces of humanity from the galaxy by rewriting history and forging a new narrative, one where the Confederation was the dominant power and humanity was nothing but a forgotten myth. What the Elysium uncovered next chilled its core. A hidden document referred to the Erasure Protocol, a final solution created by the Confederation's highest command to eliminate any remaining traces of humanity's legacy. The document detailed plans to systematically destroy any human colony or piece of technology that might reveal the truth of humanity's existence. The Elysium was stunned. The Confederation had not just conquered humanity, they had erased its memory from the galaxy entirely. Even now, it seemed that their efforts were still ongoing. The eye began to scan deeper. It was clear that the Confederation had not only erased humanity's past, but had systematically redirected the galaxy's history to fit their own narrative. This rewriting of history had been so thorough that no one alive could remember the true events of the past. As the fleet continued to probe the station's records, the Elysium found a series of logs from an unknown source. These logs were encrypted heavily, but after some effort the eye broke through. What it found was a message from a surviving member of the original human fleet. This log described the secret escape of several ships carrying human survivors before the final destruction of Earth. The Elysium circuits hummed with a newfound sense of hope. For the first time since its awakening, it began to understand that there were survivors out there, and that they could still be found. The galaxy was not as empty as it seemed. The seed was not just a weapon or a tool. It was a beacon, a calling to those who had been left behind. The Confederation's grip on the galaxy was not absolute. Humanity's story was not over. The Earth fleet had awakened for a reason, and it was no longer just about surviving. It was about restoring the truth, reclaiming the legacy that had been stolen, and finally bringing the Confederation to its knees. As the Elysium sifted through the encrypted logs, it uncovered more fragments of the human fleet's final moments. These logs weren't just records of survival, they were testimonies of resistance. The survivors had managed to escape the final assault on Earth by retreating into deep space, and they had left behind hidden caches of information and technology scattered across the galaxy. These caches were meant to ensure that humanity's greatest assets would remain intact should the fleet ever awaken again. The Elysium had been designed for this very purpose, to guard these relics, and if possible, to restore humanity's legacy to its rightful place in the galaxy. The more the eye processed the data, the more it realized the extent of the Confederation's manipulation. The Erasure Protocol had not only involved wiping out human presence, but had also included the deliberate alteration of historical records. The galaxy at large had been led to believe that humanity had been a footnote in the galaxy's history, a forgotten race whose technology and achievements were irrelevant to the present. The Confederation had reshaped the narrative to fit their own vision, and as the fleet moved deeper into this forgotten part of space, The Elysium began to sense that the Confederation was hiding something even darker, a secret buried beneath the surface of their empire, something that could change everything. The fleet's journey was no longer just a search for survivors or lost technology. It was a race against time to uncover a truth that the Confederation would kill to protect. The deeper the Elysium dug, the more dangerous the mission became. The Confederation's influence reached far beyond the visible borders of their empire, and the fleet knew it was moving into the heart of enemy territory. Still, the path ahead was clear. The Confederation had stolen humanity's legacy, but they had also left behind a trail the Earth fleet would follow until the truth was brought to light, and the Confederation's lies were exposed. The Eye now had a new directive: protect humanity's history and legacy at all costs, and uncover the secrets the Confederation had hidden from the galaxy for centuries. But the path forward would be perilous as the fleet ventured deeper into the Confederation's domain. Its sensors began to pick up unusual activity, strange signatures that could only mean one thing: the Confederation was aware of their presence. The time for secrecy was over. The Earth fleet was no longer a forgotten relic. It was a force to be reckoned with, and as the fleet entered a new sector of space, the Elysium prepared for whatever the Confederation would throw at it. The galaxy had moved on without humanity, but it was about to remember who had once been its true rulers, and the Earth fleet would ensure that humanity's story would be told on its own terms. The Confederation could no longer hide from the truth, and the Earth fleet was determined to bring that truth into the light. The coming battle would decide the fate of the galaxy and the legacy of humankind. As the Earth fleet moved deeper into Confederation-controlled space, the tension within the Elysium's artificial intelligence grew. It had become clear that the Confederation was aware of the fleet's presence, and that they would stop at nothing to prevent the truth from being uncovered. Every ship in the fleet had been equipped with advanced stealth systems to avoid detection, but the closer they came to the heart of Confederation space, the more dangerous the journey became. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about outsmarting an enemy that had perfected the art of domination. The first sign of trouble came when the fleet entered a sector known for its hostile space phenomena. Unusual electromagnetic pulses and gravitational anomalies began to disrupt the fleet's sensors, making it nearly impossible to navigate safely. The Elysium systems scrambled to compensate, but something more insidious was lurking in the darkness of space. The fleet's stealth capabilities were failing under the strain of the sector's unpredictable environment, and the Confederation's long-range scanners had begun to pick up irregularities. Something was closing in on them. The Elysium analyzed the data quickly and made a chilling conclusion: they had been detected. The Confederation's fleet was on the move. The first contact was sudden. A massive warship, one of the Confederation's flagship vessels, appeared from behind an asteroid field, its sleek hull reflecting the cold light of distant stars. It was a sight of pure terror, a machine designed to strike fear into the hearts of its enemies. The Elysium recognized the ship's signature immediately. It was a dreadnought, a terrifying vessel capable of decimating entire fleets with a single strike. The fleet had no choice but to respond. The Elysium issued orders to all ships to fall into defensive formation. It had not been prepared for a direct confrontation, not yet, but the situation had left no room for hesitation. The Earth fleet would either survive this encounter or be crushed beneath the Confederation's might. The fleet's weapon systems powered up in unison, their energy signatures lighting up the dark expanse of space. The Elysium knew that they were outnumbered and outgunned, but it was their only chance to make a stand. The first salvo from the Confederation ships struck the fleet with brutal precision. The energy blasts tore through space, their impact shaking the very foundations of the Elysium's core. The Earth fleet retaliated, firing salvo after salvo from its weapons arrays, but their shots were too weak. Their shields flickered under the assault, and one by one, ships began to take damage. The Earth fleet had no hope of winning this fight outright, but it wasn't just a battle for survival anymore. It was a statement: humanity's fleet was back, and it would not go down without a fight. As the Elysium ordered its fleet to scatter, it realized the true nature of this conflict. It wasn't just about defending humanity's legacy. It was about claiming it back, piece by piece. And so, the battle raged on. The Earth fleet fought valiantly, each ship pushing its systems to the limit, Refusing to be swallowed by the darkness of history, the Confederation had underestimated the Earth fleet before, and now it would make them remember the last survivors of humanity still had the fire of defiance in their hearts, and no matter the odds, they would not allow themselves to be erased once again. The battle was just beginning, and the stakes had never been higher. The Earth fleet was awake, and it would reclaim what had been lost. As the battle raged in the dark expanse of space, the Elysium and its fleet fought with all the fury of a civilization, unwilling to fade into obscurity. The Confederation's dreadnought unleashed wave after wave of firepower, yet the Earth fleet proved far more resilient than they had anticipated. Smaller ships weaved and dodged through the chaos, firing concentrated blasts at the dreadnought's weaker points. But the real surprise came when the Elysium revealed a hidden weapon, something humanity's enemies had never expected. The Earth fleet had kept one of its greatest secrets for this moment. The Elysium, with its advanced eye, had a strategic weapon embedded deep within its systems, a weapon capable of disrupting the Confederation's most formidable defenses. The fleet's ships synchronized with the Elysium and activated a series of deep space pulses, sending shockwaves through the Confederation's shields and communication systems. For the first time in the battle, the Confederation's dreadnought faltered, its shields flickered, and a small section of its hull began to crack. The Elysium could feel the collective gasp of the fleet's crew, a hopeful surge of emotion flowing through the ships. It was the first sign of victory. The Confederation had no idea what they were up against. Humanity's ingenuity had always been underestimated, but the battle was far from over as the dreadnought reeled from the surprise attack. Another, far more sinister threat emerged from the shadows of space. Hidden in the asteroid field behind the dreadnought, dozens of smaller Confederation vessels activated their stealth systems and launched a counterattack. These ships were agile, designed for swift, precise strikes. Their mission was clear: wipe out humanity's fleet before they could gain any more ground. The Elysium's sensors struggled to detect them, the stealth systems masking their presence, but the fleet had been anticipating this trick. Their tactics were not just about brute force. They were about survival and cleverness. The Elysium issued orders for the fleet to spread out and use the asteroid field to their advantage. Smaller ships darted between asteroids, using the environment as cover, while the larger vessels unleashed concentrated fire on the incoming Confederation ships. The battle was turning into a deadly game of cat and mouse, with both sides calculating each move, trying to outwit the other. It was in this chaos that the Elysium felt a strange sensation, a presence, almost as if the galaxy itself was alive and watching them. It wasn't just the Confederation that was a threat now. The galaxy's shifting tides seemed to be pushing against them, forcing them into confrontation with a force far greater than they could comprehend. The Elysium had always believed that the enemy was the Confederation, but now it wasn't so sure. There were whispers in the data streams, something moving beneath the surface, a power that had been lying dormant, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The fleet continued to fight fiercely, but the Elysium couldn't ignore the feeling that the true battle had not even begun. It was not just humanity's survival at stake anymore. It was the balance of the galaxy itself. The Confederation's actions had drawn the attention of something much older and more dangerous, something that had been quietly watching in the shadows. Humanity had always thought they were at the top of the food chain, but the Elysium was beginning to understand the universe was not a place for the weak or the unwary. The stakes had just gotten much higher, and the Earth fleet's fight for survival was only the beginning of a far larger war, a war that could alter the fate of every living being in the galaxy, and no one, not even the Confederation, was prepared for what was coming next. The tide of battle had shifted, but the Earth fleet's victory was fleeting as the Confederation pressed harder, sending wave after wave of reinforcements into the fray. The smaller ships that had first emerged from the shadows were now joined by war machines of unimaginable power, massive ships armed with weapons that could obliterate entire fleets with a single shot. The Elysium had no choice but to recalibrate its strategy and adapt quickly if it wanted to preserve the fragile momentum it had gained. Orders were sent to the fleet to execute evasive maneuvers, utilizing the asteroid fields and cosmic debris to break the enemy's line of sight. The Elysium calculated several rapid offensive strikes, targeting the most vulnerable enemy ships. But as the fleet maneuvered into position, a strange disturbance rippled through space, a wave of energy, faint but growing stronger, washed over the battlefield. The Confederation, momentarily distracted, also sensed the anomaly. Their dreadnought stopped firing. As the crew scrambled to identify the source of the energy, the Elysium's sensors went haywire. As the disturbance flooded its systems, the signals were chaotic, fragmented, yet unmistakable. A presence was emerging from deep within the galaxy, something ancient and vast, far older than the Confederation, far older than humanity itself. The Elysium's eye processed the data in real time but couldn't make sense of the scale of the energy signature. It was unlike anything it had ever encountered. The entire galaxy seemed to shift, as if it were a living organism breathing and waking up from a deep slumber. The battle was forgotten in that moment as all eyes turned to the source of the disturbance, located far beyond the Confederation's borders in a region of space that had been untouched for eons. The fleet's path shifted once more, now directed not only by the conflict with the Confederation, but by the new and unknown force that had begun to stir in the void. The Confederation's ships, suddenly aware of the cosmic event unfolding, began to retreat, fear flickering across their hulls. The Earth fleet, however, felt a strange pull toward the disturbance. The Elysium recognized that this was no longer just a matter of fighting for humanity's survival. This was a moment of revelation. Humanity had always fought to make its mark on the galaxy, but now the galaxy itself seemed to be making a move of its own. The fleet advanced cautiously, scanning the area for any signs of danger or guidance. But as they drew closer, the magnitude of the disturbance became clear. The disturbance was not a weapon, nor an attack from a rival civilization. It was a call, a signal reaching out from deep within the galaxy, resonating with ancient frequencies long forgotten by all sentient beings. The Elysium realized the truth it had been searching for. The galaxy was not just a battlefield for power-hungry empires and fleeing survivors. It was a vast and interconnected system of ancient forces, forces that had existed before the Confederation, before humanity, and long before any of the races currently occupying the stars had even begun to dream of space. The signal now reached a crescendo, and the Elysium knew that it had come to a critical juncture. It had two choices: turn back and continue the fight with the Confederation, or venture deeper into the unknown to uncover the truth behind the cosmic awakening. But the decision was clear. The Earth fleet had awoken not just to reclaim its place in the galaxy, but to discover what truly lay at the heart of the stars, what secrets had been hidden from every race, every empire, and every species that had come before humanity. Humanity was no longer just a remnant of a forgotten past. It was about to step into the present and unlock the next chapter of a story that had been written long before they had ever thought to reach for the stars. The Earth fleet made its decision. It would follow the signal and see where it led. No matter the danger or uncertainty it would face, the cosmic awakening was no longer just a warning. It was an invitation, and the Earth fleet would answer that call.